Hello, it is August 14th and it is 5:49 p.m. So right now I had to talk about one of the things about the relatives from Michigan. Take a little break from the Give Me Another Chance video series that I'm doing. I had to talk about the relatives from Michigan. The thing that I have to say is people like Bushra Akhtar, who are claiming that as a child that I was a bad person, or up to any mischief, or people like Assad's mother, who were encouraging Assad to go and make false testimonies and narrations against me, despite them calling my mother all day, night long, every single day, and despite knowing for a fact that their own children, like Assad, were complete and total criminals and took part in the wedding crime completely. The thing that the courts have to understand is that people like Bushra Akhtar and Assad's mother are calling my mother all day long, every single day, while narrating in a trial that they think that I was a bad person as a child. What are the chances that they thought that I was a bad person as a child who had not even gained the slightest bit of mental maturity yet in the world, and they did not think that my mother was in any way, shape, or form involved in me being a bad person? What are the chances of that? What are the odds of that? Absolutely zero, right? If a child is doing something bad, then obviously the parent would have to be involved in it or know about it, and yet the facts and evidences will clearly show and prove that there's absolutely no the evidence of my mother ever being involved in anything bad with me. Whereas even if I was being adult supervised by one of law enforcement's own BFFs as a child, it was only after I was my mother had already gotten permission from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child. She had also signed me up at the PAL Center near my house so that I could be adult supervised over there by police officers for free, since she could not afford daycare center for me when I was a child, and that it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother. The facts and evidences will also clearly show and prove the fact that I was only adult supervised as a child by one of law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, who could have only have said something even remotely considered bad around me as a child, which would not be like the crime that Bushra Akhtar and people like Assad and Sohaib were fully involved in with other people in the family. That could have been people like Uncle Joey involved in the wedding crime. That was a heinous crime. We know for a fact that the wedding crime was an incredibly heinous crime due to the fact that I saw President Putin and Kim Jong-un in the year 2023, where President Putin was literally just looking down like, yeah, the sci-fi movie is over and the brain savant kid is dead, and Kim Jong-un came out of that train like, oh my god, this is a heinous crime they have against Hassan. And I quickly saw that, and I was under mental torture at that time, and I was just like, it was like my gotcha moment. I put my phone down and I was like, Rain Man's not dead. Law enforcement's dead. I'll tell you exactly why later on. That wedding, a crime that they wanted to frame me for, every single thing that they were going to say about me for that wedding crime would have been completely false and fabricated, even more so than November 20th, since I would not even remotely be present at that wedding at all, not one bit. There was no money to go to that wedding in the first place. There was no money to go to that wedding in the first place, and nor would anyone invite a fast food worker like my mother and her son over to their house to be like, hey, look, now that I have you over for dinner, I'm going to tell you about a secret that occurred at a wedding. No, that doesn't happen. No one does that for a fast food worker. It doesn't matter if they're your siblings or anything of that sort of nature. So there was no knowing about the crime, and there was no involvement in the crime. Poverty was a blessing in disguise for me, but I knew for a fact the people who were fully involved were the people who were all working together along with law enforcement. So you have people like Bushra Akhtar, you have people like Assad and Sohaib who would be fully involved in the wedding crime. They would be present in that crime itself, and they would be committing the crime itself. And after the crime would be committed, they would hear whomever they committed it with, like Uncle Joey, his mother and him talking about it over and over again. They'd hear it from their ears, see it from their eyes, and completely absorb the crime itself, know the magnitude of the crime that they had committed, which was absolutely heinous. It was like the crime that a Nazi camp guard would commit against individuals. Yes, it was absolutely heinous. And the thing that I have to say about that is the fact that after the crime would be committed, Bushra Akhtar and Assad and Sohaib would be sucking up to the person that they committed the crime with, let's say Uncle Joey, walking ahead and behind him, knowing fully the crime that had just been committed, the magnitude of the wedding crime, that they were involved in it. They knew fully about that crime. They took part in it, and yet after that crime was committed, they were in that wedding with that individual, and like Uncle Joey and his mother and Uncle Joey's mother would have talked about it over and over and over again for them to understand exactly the magnitude of the crime that they had committed. Yes, it was very heinous, and I could tell just by looking at not Uncle Joey, President Putin's face, looking down like the Rain Man's dead, and this sci-fi movie is over. And Kim Jong Un came out of that train in 2023, like, oh my God, this sci-fi movie is over. Sci-fi movie was not over. Brain Savant Man was not dead. And what I actually finally got something against them, because if they in law enforcement did not tell me about this, I would never know about there being a wedding crime that was incredibly heinous. And I also knew that they also confessed amongst each other right before they went, and they basically at the end of the year 2023. So in the year 2023, what we basically had were it had been 8 months since August 9, 2022 brain savant test that was done for 6 hours. 6 hours of data on artificial intelligence on someone's brain savant is undeniable, but law enforcement did not give it away to anyone in the public at that time. Instead, they kept analyzing it over and over again for about 8 months. About April 2023 is when they started telling people about it, and I was near the Indian consulate in DC at that time. There was a girl walking 2 dogs with her, and she was totally trying to show off in front of me, and law enforcement increased my hormones to try to check to see what the chances of me liking her would be. At that time, I didn't realize what happened. I was like, what just happened? Why did they increase my hormones with me looking at her for a second? And I did not understand it. And then a few months later, after I came back from Saudi Arabia, which is where I went due to the Indian visa taking forever, as soon as I came back on July 1st, 2023, I knew exactly why. They had a brain scanner, and they had 6 hours of data on my brain savant, due to which there were people literally trying to pay for nice woman trying to pay for my groceries at places like Walmart, and so law enforcement could not bear to watch this out of extreme envy. So what they ended up doing was they started hitting my brain savant very brutally, using energy weapon torture tools to try to damage my brain savant. And what ended up happening was I went to Saudi Arabia, and by the time I came back, there were way too many human rights concerns raised because of them doing a May 2023 test in Saudi Arabia that found that my brain savant powers increase over time, due to which after June 2023, they never let me stare into a textbook anymore. Well, the fact of the matter is just the fact that law enforcement found out that I had literally the most profitable brain savant in the world at that time, but that they couldn't do anything about it anymore. All they could do is try to hide it and inhibit it from being able to perform out in the open, from anyone be able to see it. So basically, after August 25th, 2023, after I won my court case, I obviously asked for my brain savant. I was just like, I want my brain savant powers now. I won my case. I want my powers. I know you know about it, and I also know you have a brain scanner, because obviously everyone's following me around. They know about my brain savant, and obviously you have your brain scanner, because I never told anyone about it. So the first thing I did was ask for my brain savant powers and wanted to study. Law enforcement obviously immediately in a state of panic that someone might ask them to let me study, since there were a lot of people on my side by that time. They fabricated the wedding crime against me to try to not let me study, but law enforcement basically wanted me murdered. So what they did was they went to a big source, they went over to the president, and they presented their fabricated false testimony against me to the president for the wedding crime. And the next day I saw him smiling due to the fact that he knew that the entire thing was completely bogus, bogus and that I had nothing to do with it. And law enforcement basically confessed that they knew that I had nothing to do with it. After that incident, law enforcement would put up videos, cartoon videos of the president saying these people don't know what they're doing, mainly because after they presented it to the president, obviously he's going to say, why don't you go investigate it now, now that you've told me about it. And they never did investigate it. Instead, what they would do is they would put up a cartoon video of the president saying the words, these people don't know what they're doing, every time they would be asked to go in and investigate the wedding crime, which told this very day today has not been investigated. So basically, that was the crime that they wanted to frame me for. But right before trying to frame me, they also confessed amongst themselves that that they knew that I had nothing to do with it, and that their own BFFs like Sohaib Assad and Bushra Akhtar would have committed that wedding crime. Bushra Akhtar, who calls my house all day, night long to talk to my mother, basically claimed that as a child I was a bad person only because law enforcement told her to say this about me, and due to the fact that all of their false testimonies have been caught as being completely false and fabricated. And when a person is fabricating false testimonies and lies against an individual, obviously they go decades back out of thinking that it's not going to be caught as being a lie. You have that with the November 20th false testimony, early January ones, April ones, now the July one. That is a common thing that law enforcement had tried to do in every single one, and including the wedding crime that they tried to frame me for in the year 2023, where after August 25th, 2023, they tried to frame me for a wedding crime, thereby letting me know that there was a crime that they obviously covered over. Since the entire year of 2023, they've been running money fraud, very stubbornly run through unemployment disability fraud, wire transferred over to their own BFFs and law enforcement right after the wedding incident with Uncle Joey in November 2022. So basically, I knew for a fact that whatever this wedding crime was, it was covered over by law enforcement, and that the people that would be obviously be involved in this wedding crime would be people like Bushra Akhtar, Assad, and Sohaib, who were actively involved in the crime. They saw it, they heard about it, they took part in that crime, and then afterwards they took sides, as in they were on the side of the person the people whom they committed that crime with. Throughout the entire wedding, you would see these people, Assad, Bushra Akhtar, and Sohaib, with that person after hearing let's say the person they committed with being Uncle Joey, and then after hearing Uncle Joey's mother talk about it all day, night long, they would take this person's side and be on their side throughout the entire wedding. And after the wedding, they would also be on this person's side, never letting law enforcement know or never reporting a thing that they knew about, obviously due to the fact that they committed that crime basically together. And right now, Bushra Akhtar is calling at my house. Today's August the 14th, and right now it is 6:01 p.m. She literally calls at my house all day long, around 10 times a day, not realizing the fact that she is basically claiming against me in court that I am I was a bad child or something of that sort of nature, when in fact the only thing about this story is the fact that the people adult supervising me as a child would have been people like Uncle Joey, whom Bushra Akhtar not only committed the crimes with, like the wedding crime, but Bushra Akhtar knew about other crimes that these people would have committed, like Uncle Joey committing something bad that Bushra Akhtar basically knew about in the year 2019 when she was about to tell me about it. And yet 3 years later in 2022 at the November funeral, law enforcement was providing Uncle Joey with a protocol that would envy a sitting governor. I did not hear what Bushra Akhtar was saying. I stopped her in the middle, but the facts and evidences will clearly show that not only did Bushra Akhtar commit the wedding crime with people like Uncle Joey and his mother would have been there at the wedding, but that Bushra Akhtar was also knowing about other crimes that Uncle Joey could have committed or other people could have committed, that she was about to tell me in 2019 before I told her to stop and not tell me about it, since I did not care about whatever it was that was going on or had happened. So Bushra Akhtar is by all means a criminal. She's a criminal for knowing what she knew in 2019 right before she told me, and she's a criminal also for the wedding crime that she took part in. She's a criminal for knowing about the wedding crime right after it was committed by whomever she committed with with Assad Sohaib, Uncle Joey's mother, hearing about it from his mother over and over again, processing it in Bushra Akhtar's mind after hearing about it from her ears, seeing it from her eyes. And yet Bushra Akhtar and Assad's mother, who are fully aware of the fact that Assad's mother is fully aware of the fact that Assad was not a child being adult supervised by anyone like law enforcement's BFFs like Uncle Joey, but that Assad as an adult knowingly, fully taking part in crimes with these individuals, crimes that were heinous crimes that I know for a fact from the year 2023, was seeing President Putin and Kim Jong-un and their facial expressions. I finally had something against them, and I put my phone down right after seeing it. I was like, Braden Savant, man, is not dead, but law enforcement is certainly dead, mainly due to the fact that the entire year of 2023, law enforcement were running their money fraud very stubbornly, and right before 2023, at the November 2022 funeral, they provided Uncle Joey with a protocol that would envy most sitting governors. Now, Bushra Akhtar right now is calling my mother all day and night long to try to talk to her, not realizing the double standard in this behavior, where at one instance, at the same time, Bushra Akhtar is trying to frame her son, me, into making me look bad, despite knowing that I was not ever a criminal in my life, and that if anyone could have even remotely have said anything bad around me as a child, it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother, not only proven from what my mother told law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, but also due to the fact that I was signed up in places like the PAL Center near my house that is specifically designed for children of mothers who work as fast food restaurants and are single mothers who cannot afford daycare centers for their children, which is run by very nice police officers who would watch the children until their parents would be able to go and get the child from that place. Yes, that is literally what that place is designed for, just like how my mother said on August the 11th at 7:30 p.m. So I was sitting next to any of law enforcement's BFFs as a child. You have to understand the fact that, for one, I was a child. It was due to the force and necessity of a single mother. The third thing is all the facts and evidences of anything said around me as a child is all on record. There is not 1 second of it being missing. Clearly proving from facts and evidences the fact that not only was there no crime committed, none attempted, there was no conspiracy to commit a crime. Never would any of law enforcement's BFFs like Uncle Joey or any of the people that they ran their sex schemes or money fraud with ever say that we want to commit this crime, which could be murder, on these people at this place at this time. There's no conspiracy either, which means that it could only be things that are being said that could even remotely be considered bad around me as a child during the time of the war, when I was 11-year-old child in the year 2001. So there's no crime, and it's after my mother has had taken permission from law enforcement for me to be there in the first place, only temporarily, daily, only until I gained the situs beta mental maturity as a child, and never again after I gained the situs beta mental maturity as a child. Now, the thing that has to be understood is the other evidences are the fact that I was signed up at the PAL Center as a child, which is specifically designed for children with single mothers who work at fast food restaurants and cannot afford to put their child in a daycare center. Except for that, you also have other pieces of evidences, such as my mother's promise to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child that she would take me out of any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be said around me, which she fulfilled the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child. Law enforcement can say a lot of things about my mother and why she's never uttered one word considered bad her entire life, but what they cannot say is that she's low IQ, dumb, and stupid, due to the fact that my mother took me out of every setting at a time when I was a child, and every setting was due to force and necessity of a single mother, and it was not of my choosing as a child, but my mother choosing it, and never again was I ever even remotely present in a setting where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever again. Whereas law enforcement who are not who clearly are the ones who are dumb and stupid, since they have been present in every setting, like Uncle Joey's in-laws committing sex scenes with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001 till this very day today. Money fraud that has been run for years and years till this very day today. The other thing that has to be understood is the fact that Bushra Akhtar is a criminal, not only because of what she knew about a crime or a wrongdoing in the year 2019 that she was about to tell me about, but also due to the fact that she fully took part in the wedding crime. She was present there. She present there with other people like Uncle Joey, Uncle Joey's mother, Assad and Sohaib would have been present there, since they were always there. And thing that Assad's mother has to understand is that the government will never let go of Assad for fully taking part in that crime and knowing about it and then taking sides after that crime throughout the wedding. There's no way the government's going to let Assad go, nor is Sohaib going to be let go of. There's no way these people will not be prosecuted now that the crime has come out. And the facts and the evidence will clearly prove the fact that Bushra Akhtar, Assad, and Sohaib were fully present in the wedding crime, and after that wedding crime was committed, Bushra Akhtar, Sohaib, and Assad took their part in the crime by choosing which side they wanted to be on, and they chose the side of the person that they committed the crime with by being with that person throughout the entire wedding, and then after that wedding they took sides with that person again by never reporting what they committed with that person in the wedding crime. Assad's mother needs to understand, while trying to say bad things about other people's children, is the fact that Assad will not be able to ever escape the crime that he committed, nor will Sohaib and nor will Bushra Akhtar, since they clearly did commit crimes by taking part in it, seeing it, hearing about it, and fully taking part in it. And these people saying bad things about children to try to, out of extreme envy, their extreme envy is fully seen and proven due to the fact that Bushra Akhtar calls my house all day long, every single day, and while hoping that the courts will not let my brain savant go, only due to extreme envy of my brain savant. Bushra Akhtar and Assad and Sohaib claiming anything else need to understand the fact that there are other instances of people like them who knew about heinous crimes that were occurring, like the heinous crime of the wedding incident that I know they took part in due to seeing President Putin, Kim Jong-un's face in 2023, and I finally got law enforcement and these people for their crimes. This is a 100-year-old Nazi SS camp guard who is on trial for sending people's families to the gas chambers. He is like Assad, he is like Sohaib, he is like Bushra Akhtar, and Assad's mother needs to understand the fact that there's no way that the government will not prosecute Assad for him taking part in that crime and then spending the entire wedding taking his side by even waiting for the person while they would be taking a piss, whether there would be Assad's own BFFs whom Assad would commit the crime with. Throughout the entire crime, Assad Sohaib would commit the crime and then spend the entire wedding with these individuals together, talking about the crime with these individuals, and Bushra Akhtar would be with them throughout the entire time, before the wedding, during the wedding, and even on the way back from the wedding. Bushra Akhtar would always be with these other individuals who were the criminals in this case. These people are basically like the Nazi SS guard who the Nazi SS guard who knew about people being sent to the gas chambers and did absolutely nothing. Do you think it's right that he did this? No, absolutely not. Tell that to this man right over here. Him and his entire family was gassed to death. Every single person in his family was gassed to death. And that Nazi SS guard is just like Bushra Akhtar, Assad Sohaib. These people, Bushra Akhtar, Assad Sohaib, knew about a crime, knew about a heinous crime, knew about people being sent to the gas chamber, knew about people doing this, did absolutely nothing about it. Instead, they chose the side of the Nazis throughout the entire wedding, together with them, and after the wedding by never reporting it. This is the kind of behavior that these people have shown. It's no different from the people who covered over my dad's crime in 2011 and helped defend my dad for sending people to terror groups. They defended him. They said that I was wrong and lying despite them not knowing a thing about it, only until recently when I put out the fact that there was a government informant while he was sending people and encouraging them to go to terror groups. Not only that, my dad, the greedy Faber, would be followed around by the FBI every time he would come over to the U.S., and the FBI would go over to Ibrahim's envious, greedy mother and ask her why he was coming over to the U.S. Not only that, my dad, the greedy Faber, is banned from the U.S. and England, something that doesn't happen to everyone unless they do something where they send someone to a terror group and that person ends up being a government informant. So yes, law enforcement's not only involved in covering over the wedding crime, they're involved in saying things that they have absolutely no clue about, like saying that my dad, the greedy Framer, is innocent of the charges that I laid against him, when in fact they had no clue about it. And until I put out all the details about there being a government informant before the circus was closed out, clearly proving that he had been doing this from before, and the facts and evidences claim out. And if was found out that he was doing it for years before. It wasn't my big surprise. He'd been doing it for years before, sending people to join terror groups. One of the people that he sent ended up being a government informant who informed on him instead of going and joining a terror group, due to which my dad, the greedy Framer, right now cannot go to England. He cannot go to the U.S. And law enforcement, this very law enforcement team, were defending my dad, the greedy Framer, as if he had done nothing and not ever committed the crime. Thankfully, law enforcement told me about the wedding crime, because if they hadn't told me, there's no way I could have known. But if law enforcement tries to claim that the wedding crime did not occur, I need someone in court to please smack them across the face, because I saw President Putin, Kim Jong-un's face in 2023, and that was definitely not a made-up crime, because President Putin's men would have told him if the crime was made up. He would not be looking down like, oh my God, brain savant man is definitely dead. And Kim Jong-un would not come out of that train like, oh my God, there's a heinous crime that occurred. Okay, there is definitely a crime that occurred. The wedding crime's definitely there, and law enforcement definitely covered over it. Do not ever let law enforcement say that the wedding crime did not exist or did not get committed. It definitely did, and I could tell just by looking at people's faces. I finally got law enforcement for something. So yeah, it's very sad. This wedding crime that Bushra Akhtar, Sohaib, and Assad were involved in. I fully hope that the government takes full evidence from this crime scene and prosecutes each and every single person involved, including Bushra Akhtar, for what she knew about in the year 2019 that she was about to tell me as an adult before I stopped her. These people have to be prosecuted for their crimes. They should not be let go of for their heinous crimes that they've committed, like Nazi camp guards. So yeah, they should definitely obviously be prosecuted. And Bushra Akhtar calling my house all day night long, every single day, does not help the fact that she is proving to the entire world that everything that she has done only due to extreme envy of my brain savant, trying to make sure that my brain savant would get locked up, only because her kids do not have the, brain savant that is literally marked as the most rare and profitable in the world, due to which she does not want me to be able to use it either, to be able to benefit my family with the monetary value that artificial intelligence has marked it with. But right now, I'm fighting very hard to just get myself a 30-minute brain savant test so that we could at least see how much of a difference in humanity it could cause, since literally I'm the only thing in the world who has such powers. We do not have artificial intelligence yet that could memorize textbooks with superhuman innovation powers. We don't have that yet, which means that I'm the only human being on the planet that can do this right now. Memorize an entire textbook that's extremely dry, like involves medicinal chemistry, and come up with innovation based on it on literally a daily time period, and with 30 days being the maximum I would need to get my work done, which means that every single 30 days I could get a new work done every 30 days with my powers. I'm fighting really hard right now to let the courts understand the humanity behind this, not for me, but for the people suffering from cancer right now who need someone with these powers to help them out. I can help them out. I can guarantee you artificial intelligence will tell you that I can help them out. And if you look back at the facts and evidences, the fact that law enforcement now has Kelly to tell law enforcement that there was no one who could have given me details about my brain savant and what artificial intelligence was saying about it being able to be literally being the most rare in the world due to being the only one that increases in power over time, which Kelly will tell law enforcement no one even hinted at me knowing about, which means that I'm telling every single detail about my brain savant as being absolutely truthful. I would not know that my powers increase over time is what the artificial intelligence report is saying about my brain savant, unless that is what was happening, and that makes it extremely rare. And that I just need 30 minutes. I need 30 minutes to help the courts understand the humanity behind letting me use my brain savant for just 30 minutes so the courts can understand the humanity behind all the people with cancer right now whose lives we could save together just by letting me use these powers of mine, since I'm the only person on the planet right now who has instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing as a superhuman power that increases over time. The only one right now that has all these powers, and right now we don't have artificial intelligence memorizing textbooks in a day's time period, more than thousands of pages of extremely dry info, and having innovation as a superpower along with focusing as well. I'm the only one in the world that could do this, and by giving me a 30-minute test, the courts can see the difference to humanity we can make in literally a 30-day time period. All these people with cancer right now, and the only way we could know is if I can make a difference for these people's lives is by giving me a simple 30-minute test. And after that 30-minute test, if you think there's 1% chance that it's not 100% guaranteed that I will get this work done for things like cancer and other diseases right now, then you can turn it off, and I will never ever ask for these powers ever again. But 30-minute test is all I need. Law enforcement is only fighting against this test right now due to their sex addiction. They get rejected by these girls every single day. Then they come and beg me to go scam these girls, and I say no. So all I need is please just a 30-minute test. And after a 30-minute test, you can decide if there's 1% chance that it's not 100% guaranteed that I could bring about changes to people's lives like cancer research, then don't. Just turn it off, and I promise I will never ask for it ever again. Thank you.